Now, many of you will know that NIO is not only selling their cars in China, right? They are also selling their cars in quite a number of countries in Europe. I mean, yes, they've introduced a new strategy where they are not penetrating some of these countries using NIO brand, but rather they are partnering with local distributors or local dealerships. But there are already 5 countries that in Europe, this country NIO penetrated with their own brand, right? Fully with their brand, meaning that there are NIO showrooms, there are NIO houses, and all that, which is something that is very, very good, right? Though this has costed NIO over the years because they've not been generating enough sales to cover the expenses, which I'm assuming. I mean, already to run a NIO house, you and me can agree that selling 12, 15 cars, 20 cars might not cover all the expenses that comes with running that NIO house. It might not cover even the salary of people, right? So NIO has not been doing that well in terms of sales in Europe, right? Generally speaking, yes, there's a new initiative, but generally NIO has not been doing well. But this is not because of NIO's fault or not because NIO's cars are not of good quality or whatnot, but it is because of the subsidies that the EU Commission imposed onto all Chinese cars that are coming from China into Europe, right? And NIO, remember now, the reason why you cannot really compare XPeng to NIO in terms of sales is that XPeng is selling sort of like mass market brand, meaning that the kind of cars that they are selling can be afforded by almost anyone in China, whereas NIO cars, these are premium cars. They cannot be afforded by just anyone, which is why the sales that you will see XPeng generating in some of the countries won't be the same as the kind of sales that you see NIO generating. I mean, already NIO cars in China without the shipping costs and all that that has to be factored when they are selling in Europe are too pricey in China or are quite high and cannot be afforded by just anyone, right? I mean, NIO cars in China starts around $42,000. I mean, $42,000 is not it's not a small change, right? It is a price that of course cannot be afforded by just anyone, and this you taking this into cognizance going into Europe. This is what even makes the cars of NIO to be that side to be this makes it even a bit harder for the Europeans to get to afford these cars because for an 85 touring 85 mid sedan which costs $42,000 in China, in Europe you'll find that car $56,000, $58,000, which again it shows you of how much expensive this car is in Europe, and the tariffs are making things worse. That is what is making NIO not to be able to do well in Europe. Now, the reason why I'm giving you that background is because we have got a sales or delivery update for September, right? I mean, this is an update for on 5 of the countries that NIO is currently selling, and they penetrated with their brand, meaning that they've got NIO houses, NIO showrooms, and all that. And this is Germany, Netherlands, Switzerland, Denmark, and Norway. These are the 5 countries that NIO started penetrating the European market with, and these sales that I want to cover here with you are the sales that, of course, are not only covering NIO, but also Firefly, because for a place like Norway, for a place like Netherlands, you will know that Firefly has already started with sales. I'm not sure about Sweden, but I think Sweden might also be having Firefly as I'm doing this video. So these are the deliveries that are for both NIO and Firefly. So Norway. This is a place, by the way, Norway is not imposing any tariff onto NIO, onto Chinese EV maker. Norway decided not to partake into what the EU Commission did, and that is to increase tariffs onto Chinese EV makers, right? So Norway in September sold 63 units. I don't know how many Fireflies or how many NIOs were sold, but in total they sold 63 cars in September. This was a 9% increase year over year, meaning that this figure was 9% higher than the figure that NIO reported in September of 20 24. Right now, Sweden, it is though the number, as you see there, it's 23. Sweden, it is the place where, in terms of growth, it reported, or the kind of growth, it was so good, right? 475% year on year, and they sold 23, right? So it means that last year, Sweden, things were not going that well at all. Things were not going well. And seeing them at 475, though the number is 23, suppose it's pretty decent. Denmark, NIO sold 0. There's nothing that was sold in Denmark, which again, this takes you back to the cost that NIO is incurring in Europe due to the tariffs, due to all this that I was discussing. They still need to pay salaries, they still need to pay for the facilities, utilizations, and yet they are not generating sales. This is not that good. Netherlands, NIO sold 20 cars and it was a 5% decrease year on year. Germany, 20 cars, 9% decrease year on year. So Europe in September, in total, NIO sold 126 cars in total in September. But I must say, in as much as things are not looking that good in Europe right now for NIO, I must highlight or flag something. And that is, look, Firefly, it is now available in some of the European countries like Norway and Netherlands, and the availability only started mid-September, right? And we can expect, if NIO has shipped enough of these cars into Europe, we can expect a greater recovery into the other European countries when it comes to this Firefly sub-brand. Like I told you, the reason why Xpeng has sold almost probably plus minus 10,000 units in Europe thus far, it's because of the fact that their cars are quite affordable to a number of people, right? It's because of the price of that car, so many people can afford Xpeng or to buy Xpeng cars, which is why they've been doing well, which is why they continue, of course, doing well outside of China. And NIO, now that they've taken their Firefly sub-brand out there, we are expecting things to be better, things to improve in terms of sales. Hopefully we get to see Sweden also reporting some pretty decent figures of at least Firefly, because look, NIO was not just penetrating these countries. When they penetrated this country, they were penetrating countries that they thought there is potential to growth. And because of the prices of NIO cars, unfortunately, they are not seeing that much growth. But now that we have Firefly, and now that we might be seeing also third generation NIO main brand cars going to Europe, some of these countries, it's we can expect great things. There is hope, and let's see what transpires next. But anyways, I thought I quickly come and give you these updates. This is the European sales update for September. It is very important that obviously you know this performance, because so many are times where we are talking about the deliveries of NIO in China, but outside of China the deliveries are not as good. You will notice that these figures does not even constitute to 1% of the total deliveries that NIO delivered, even for September. NIO in September, they sold over 34,000 cars, right? And therefore 1%, it's just 340 cars, and we don't have that. And this shows you of how insignificant the sales of Europe are right now to NIO. But anyways, let me not make this video too long. Like this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I will see you on the next one. That is all from me, and God bless you all.